It's not a phase, Aunt May. This is who I am now. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. I've already reviewed the Marvel Legends Spider-Man 77, so today is a spotlight of Spider-Man head swaps. Before we get started though, I actually made a couple of mistakes in my review. The first one being that I forgot to show you his measurements. Spider Hammond stands at 6 1/4 inches, or 16 centimeters. Additionally, I made a mistake with the ab articulation. I'm frankly surprised that no one's noticed yet. I showed you what he looks like standing straight. I also showed you what he looks like hunched forward, but somehow I accidentally cut out the shot where I showed you that this was the farthest back he can go. With all that out of the way, let's dig in. First up, and let's try the original release of Pizza Spidey. First things first, and the red on Pizza Spidey is much too dark for this figure. Additionally, and what I like about the Hammond is that classic Ditko look, which does contrast with the larger eyes. Still, if you were determined to make this work, I swapped it out with the retro card version of Pizza Spidey, and I do think that's a bit better. In fact, here's the Nicholas Hammond head on that body. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, but I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments below. And then here's that head on the original release so you can see just how dark that red is. And lest we forget the partially unmasked Pizza Spidey head, the reds still don't exactly match, but with Peter's smiling jaw coming between the costume and the top of his head, it's a little bit less noticeable. For a different figure using this exact same head though, and here we have the original Ben Reilly. Of the ones we've looked at so far, this actually might just be the best match. The red is a slightly cooler hue, but the shade is about the same. So yeah, if you like this head, this is your best combo. It doesn't work quite as well this way, and to be honest, I'm not sure that I really like these eyes on Ben Reilly. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like. It's a small thing, but it really helps the channel. Now, as far as figures built off of Pizza Spidey go, there is this one that came in the Mary Jane 2-pack. Obviously, the reds are the absolute worst match so far, but I wanted to try this head because, similar to Nicholas Hammond, the lenses are more goggle-like. So if you've got some mad painting skills, there might be something there. Same thing with this configuration. Again, though, those reds are really different. Spoiler alert, we're going to have a similar situation with RetroCard. The style of the RetroCard eyes is great for the Nicholas Hammond body, but once again, the colors are just too different. It's even more noticeable this way around, but hey, for a skilled enough painter, no challenge is too big. Once again, though, and I'm hoping that Ben Reilly might be able to save the day. Admittedly, it's not a perfect match, but if you like this head style, it is much closer than the retro card, and again, on your shelf and in normal lighting, I think you could get away with it. Even this combo match is a bit better than usual. By no means is it a perfect fit. Again though, the point is, if you wanted to, you could. And you know what, as long as we're talking about Ben, we might as well satisfy our curiosity with Spider-Man Beyond. Now, I've compared a few of these to Aliens already, but this is just full Roswell. Color and web-wise, it does sync up better than I was expecting, but it's still pretty inappropriate for this body. With this in mind, it should come as no surprise I like this combination much better. It kind of reminds me of the all red and black movie costume idea that Alex Ross designed, but hey, as far as I'm concerned, any head is an improvement over the one that came with this. Gah! I predict that Renew Your Vows is going to be a better match, and yeah, those reds are a lot closer, so if you wanted to make this one work, you definitely could. Other way around, and the differences are a bit more noticeable here on your shelf and in normal light though, and it might not be too bad. The main reason the Renew Your Vows swap is important though is because of this alternate Peter Parker head. In my humble opinion, this is still our best comic style unmasked Peter head for Marvel Legends. Sheesh! You think I added enough qualifiers there? And while it might not look like Nicholas Hammond, it is still a pretty great fit. For the one that I'm the most curious and hopeful for though, and here we have the Amazing Friends 3-pack, and yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for. The combination of those eyes and that logo just screams Steve Ditko, so for a classic early year Spidey, this is pretty much spot on. On the flip side, I don't know if this is going to really do it for anyone. The colors do match up alright, but the head does seem a bit big for this body and sits a little bit low. As a reminder, the Amazing Friends box set is just a repaint of Amazing Fantasy 15. This swap is just as compatible as Amazing Friends. The best part is that Amazing Fantasy is much more affordable to get a hold of than the Amazing Friends friend's version. So if you like this combo as much as I do, it's a much more cost-effective way of making it happen. Other way around, and I still think this head is too big for this body. Still, I would be remiss if I didn't show you. For another one I feel optimistic about, and here we have the animated series. Once again, the colors are a fairly decent match. The eyes on this head could definitely pass off for a comic book design, and while the head is a bit large, it's fairly comparable to the one that came with it. Alternately, and I kinda dig this. As has been the case, the differences are a bit more noticeable, but you most certainly could get away with it. One fun addition to the animated Spider-Man is this unmasked Peter Parker head. Naturally, it's very specific to the style of the cartoon, so it might not work for everyone. I do, however, really like the proportions here. Animated Spidey also comes with this alternate Flash Thompson head. Once again, it's obviously in the style of the cartoon, but if you wanted to fudge it into your comic shelf, I think you could. The one I already know you're not going to be able to get away with is Maximum Spider-Man. The webbing on his mask is just too tightly packed, throwing the whole design out of balance. Though, once again, that would be way easier to get away with than this combo. Here, the differences in webbing and color are just too pronounced. What I'm more interested in for Maximum Spider-Man is the alternate Peter Parker head. Clearly, this doesn't look a thing like Nicholas Hammond. Even so, it's still another viable unmasked option. For one that I am particularly curious about, and here we have the Gamerverse reissue. Kind of. This figure isn't the original, it's actually a bootleg. And don't worry, it's going to be getting its own video. But for now, I really just wanted to try this head swap. This is a million times better than I was expecting. The reds and the web lines are a perfect match. Now, because I don't have the original version, I can't tell you if it's going to work out as well with the real thing, but I'm really digging this one. Keep in mind that the Nicholas Hammond costume is a skin in that game, so you could always put him on that shelf too. Other way around, and I don't like it as much, but it still works. Now, to be honest, I wasn't going to include the final swingsuit. Mainly, I thought that the sculpted texture was going to stick out too much. And while there are noticeable differences in the thickness of the webs, this looks a lot better than I expected. The bootleg and Amazing Friends are my favorites, but this one is up there. Unfortunately, I do think this would be a lot harder to get away with, mainly because of how big the head is in relationship to the body. Now, Tom Holland has very specific proportions, but I still wanted to try this head out. Personally, it's just more confirmation as to what a great Spider-Man he is. But yeah, this body's a little bit too long. For anyone wondering, by the way, the Andrew Garfield head is perfect for this. Lastly, and I had the same misgivings about the upgraded Miles Morales, but you know what? This looks even better. At normal eye level, you can barely tell the difference in the textures, and the thickness of the web lines matches much more closely. So yeah, this is absolutely a winner. Other way around though, and we do have the same issue of proportions, making him look less like Spider-Man and more like Spider-Alien. Which combination was your favorite? Were there any I forgot about? Tell me everything in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my upcoming video on this bootleg. For more Spider-Man videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun. And while it might not look like Nicholas Hammond,